and then offers the same products as, quote, Russian hair on another site. Images of hair suppliers in Moscow on yet another site deceive buyers into the belief that this same vendor is selling virgin Russian hair. And, Russian hair is very fine and brittle. It's not strong. So what I was reading in a book, it was saying that you could either you could either perm it or you could color it, but you can't do both. So you have to choose, because if you do both, the whole thing's going to brittly fall apart. So, but Indian hair is unique in that it's thin, it's strong, they can grow it very long. I guess they have good genes for this or something. And it can be dyed, it can be permed, it can be straightened, it can be, bleached. You can do all sorts of things, and it's going to hold up. Okay, and Italian hair, well, it's very rare, very, very expensive, because Italian women are, they're like our culture. They worship beauty. So what Italian woman's going to shave her head bald for, a relatively small amount of money? It's not really going to happen. So, there's no way that somebody could have Italian wigs, and still pay the prices that we're paying. A European woman selling her hair would not shave her head to do so. Therefore, she would still need to retain at least 10 to 12 inches of her own hair after cutting to maintain hair on her own head. One can reasonably conclude that in order to successfully make a standard long wig of 16 to 24 inches, with an additional 3 inches for processing, a woman would have to have hair to her mid-thigh before cutting it. Hair grows at about 1/4 to 1/2 inch a month. At that rate, it would take approximately 8 years to grow hair long enough for the fashionable wigs of today. Furthermore, it is important to note that one wig requires an average of hair from 5 women. An average of 5 women growing their hair for approximately 8 years for one wig suggests the need for tremendous amounts of constant hair supply in order to keep up with the Jewish wig niche of the market. The only logical source for enough hair at those lengths and quantities would be from India. They have different, sayings out there. But, one thing is, if it's too good to be true, it isn't, or, if the simplest answer is most often the answer, rather than some convoluted, thing, well, it could be this, it could be that, it could be this. When you look at the most likely answer, that's usually the truthful. And in this case, to say, it could be this hair or it could be that hair, there's just not enough supply, and the industry, people in the industry say that themselves. For example, ask the expert, what's the difference between Brazilian hair and Indian hair? Quote, 99% of the time, Brazilian hair, Peruvian hair, or Malaysian hair is actually hair from India or China that has been processed. For instance, when I go to India, I am often buying large amounts of hair alongside Brazilians who purchase the curly Indian hair and process it with steam to deliver tighter curls and remarket as Brazilian hair with a premium price tag put on it. Malaysian hair is often Chinese hair blended with Indian hair for sleeker and shinier appearance. Give me a country and I could go on, but I won't. And that's the owner named Dafina Smith, owner and creative director for Sunny's Hairs and Wigs. So I guess that answers our earlier question, why are they deceiving Goyim as well as Jews? And I guess money. The number one motivator that runs the entire world market is money. In fact, they call it black gold in India, this hair, and they guard it with in safes after they cut it off. They have a whole, a processing department that deals with this, and they keep it under lock and key until auction because it's so valuable. Rabbi Ruvain, he was saying that, and I read this in a book also, it said that, the second most richest religious institution in the world is these Hindu temples, and they, in the book, they said the person they were interviewing, who was in the vice president of this Hindu temple or whatever, was saying that they were going to surpass the Vatican soon, because the Vatican's number one. But because they have this constant supply of hair, and the number one source of their money, these temples, the number one source is the jewelry that's donated to the gods. And the number two is the hair that's donated to the gods. They bring in millions and millions of dollars to these temples. Telling consumers that a wig is kosher based solely on their hair having bought in Europe isn't sufficient and is problematic, since a large majority of the hair supply in Europe is intentionally mislabeled Indian hair. The wig companies themselves don't really know the origin of the hair they are buying. Saying we buy only European hair cannot and does not constitute a kosher certification. Now, one thing I think about is like with, meat, we don't just take a non-Jew's word that he gave us kosher meat, It has to have a double seal from a from Jew. He seals it twice, and then he'll put it in the hands of a non-Jew to transport it to another Jew. So, but if the seal's broken, I don't think we're allowed to eat it, because then it's suspect that the guy tampered with it. But here, a burger somebody eats once, But here, a person wears a wig hundreds of times, 1,000 times, and we're taking their word from the start. There's no from Jew at the beginning of the process. They only come at the end. And how many goyim does it pass through before it even gets to us? So, and the industry is known through the non-Jews themselves to be unethical and full of lies and deception. So, they themselves are saying it's a very dishonest business. And there's nobody overseeing what hair is this? So would we, if we wouldn't eat meat from that source, right, being cut by someone who's not religious or not even Jewish, and then transported through all these hands, and then, it gets wrapped up as kosher, and, well, he said it was kosher, so it's kosher, here you go. Like, we wouldn't do that. So, why are we doing that? That's a mitzvah, to keep kosher, and, to not use idolatrous items, that's also a mitzvah. This season, we achieved a 45% hike in tonsuring at an all-time record. Around 5,000 people could be tonsured in one shift of 6 hours. During festivals, the number goes up to about 45,000 heads per day. And that right there is proof that it is a voda Zorah. Because you talk to some people and they say it's not a voda Zorah. Well, I mean, just the fact that the people go up, they flood the temples during their holidays to offer to their gods. If that's not a voda Zorah, I don't really know what is. Okay, so head to the famous temple at Tirupati, and you are likely to find a lot of bald men and women propitiating his name's Balaji, with a vow of tonsure. Gleaming scalps are everywhere, some smeared with sandalwood to keep the head cool, especially in the summer heat. You can read, actually, you can go online and you can read what these Hindus themselves say they're doing, because, some people...
Thank you for calling. This information was compiled after thorough investigation. Following are selections from the report. If you'd like to obtain a copy of the full-length document, please listen for instructions at the end.
Okay. It has been 13 years since a group of Orthodox Jewish rabbis in Israel declared